On to Conor Benn, it looks like he's put a statement out there saying basically that he's innocent. His team have proven his innocence. What do you make of this scenario? There was 2 failed tests that he came out saying he'd failed 2 tests. When he says his team have proven his innocence, what do you think will come of this?
Like anything in life, I would rather wait and see what happens before I judge. I mean, you should never really judge someone before you know the full story. But at the end of the day, what you have to remember is he has failed 2 drugs tests. When you're putting up Instagram stories and stuff saying like, I can't remember what it was, but like basically people had made their minds up on him, people had judged him and that, like he remembers who they are. But you did fail 2 drug tests. Like you're acting like it was, I don't know, like someone gave him a dodgy glove but he didn't know about or something. You failed 2 drug tests that you tried to sweep under the carpet and still try to fight a weight-drained person, you know? At the end of the day, whether it turns out he was actually innocent in these 2 failed drug tests, you still failed 2 drug tests. So what that means is people are going to judge you and they're right to do that, yeah? Like, can you imagine if one of his rivals failed a drug test or something and they'd beaten him in a fight, what his reaction would be or something like that? I mean, he'd go wild and he'd go crazy, and rightly so. Like, so I don't really understand that narrative that he's pulling. Like everyone's stupid in that for like going against him. He did fail 2 drug tests at the end of the day. Whether he's innocent or not, people are right to judge you and go against you for that because that is against the rules of the game and the sport. So they're absolutely right to do so. Now, moving forward, you don't really know until you see how it all plays out and the facts. I mean, I'm not a pharmacist or an expert in illegal drugs, so you only have to really find out what has happened, like the traces that are in his system, if they think it was contaminated and whatnot. You can only really, I'll let the professional people do that, man, because I don't really know. But yeah, obviously it's not looking good for him. But going from his team and seeing what they've said, it looks like he's going to be fighting again soon. It looks like there's light at the end of the tunnel for him, I guess.
Yeah, when I saw the statements, obviously we're not him, so we can't comment on it. But you'd sort of think, I think when he looks back at it, he may look and think, well, if like you've just mentioned there a scenario, if he got beat by someone and they failed the test, I'm not sure his first reaction would be, oh well, he's saying he's innocent, and he wouldn't be mad about it. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
I get the public's outcry. I think more of the stick, and maybe rightly so, went towards the promoters because they knew about the test for weeks anyway, and they were, I think TalkSport did quite a bit on it as well, and it's showing how they were trying to still put the fight on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if someone hasn't been banned, so from Eddie Hearn's standpoint of view, Conor Benn was never banned. Then what is he supposed to do? Just cancel the fight? I mean, if the fight is still on a fight and their teams are still up for it, what is Eddie supposed to do? He's not going to be like, oh, our biggest payday of the year and the biggest money fight for DAZN, which was their big breakout, DAZN UK pay-per-view, they were going to do tons of eyes. Why would he pull it? It makes no sense for him or any of the others to do that. Like, if everyone wants to fight, everyone's happy to go ahead with a fight, why is the guy who's going to make loads of money out of it and the network that he works for, like, I don't even know if he'd be allowed to just pull it. Like, I don't know if that would break the terms of the contract. That's probably one for Adam Morley. But yeah, it would make no sense to do so. But the people you have to look at really more so is Chris Eubank's team, because they've got the duty of care for Chris Eubank. You know, they're the ones that are meant to look out for his best interest. Eddie Hearn represents Conor Benn. He was looking out for Conor Benn's best interest there, yeah? So, but Chris Eubank's team, you would have to maybe look at it a little bit different. But then again, if Chris Eubank still wants to fight, what are they supposed to do? Like, you can only advise someone. You can't literally tie him up and tell him he ain't getting in the ring, can you? So from that point of view, you just have to kind of let him get on with it. But I'm happy it didn't, because if Chris Eubank Jr. did get hurt in there, it would have put the sport in very bad light. And also, we don't want Chris Eubank Jr. to get hurt, and we want it to be a fair fight. And if someone's failed not 1 but 2 drug tests, it probably shows it wasn't going to be a fair fight. If he meant it or not, he would still have had a slight advantage, wouldn't he? So
yeah, and let's just let me just flip that though. We mentioned there, obviously, the silence and duty of care towards Chris, and what's Eddie supposed to do? The board haven't banned him, but let's just say, all right, well that's fine. It carried on, and then Chris gets seriously hurt. We've seen it in the sport. I mean, just look at, your Michael Watsons, Nick Blackwell's and some of the Gerald McLennan's. Say that happens then, and all because nobody said or done anything. The sport's in absolute tatters, isn't it? And plus,
absolutely. I mean, what kind of message is that sending out to fans? Like, we should learn from the harsh lessons we've had to survive in the past, like Scott Westgarth as well. And and they were completely fair fights. They weren't. From what we know, there's no dodginess or anything going on there. It was just two strong, tough men fighting one another. So we should learn from the tragedies. Patrick Day, another one, who obviously that was on a Matchroom show. Like, these terrible, sad stories, and these are from men that are just fit 100% men. Like, these are not people that have juice. These are not people that are going in there that we know of weight trained. So we should learn from lessons like that, and we should learn from this. Just because nothing did happen doesn't mean we should learn from it. Boxing is dangerous enough as it is, and it's a hard sport as it is, let alone these crazy catch weights and drugs in people's system, whether they knew about it or not. But it does become difficult to really feel sorry for when you fail too as well. And it's not really a drug that falls into your protein shake, is it? So, but again, I don't want to judge him too much. You've got to wait to find out the facts from the professional people, and then you can make a decision on whether you're with him or not.
Could we not, moving forward, could boxing not look in a better light if they said, like the contracts, and we said it was only the board that could cancel the fight? Would it not be good to have in the contract say, if either of you fail a test and we are made aware of it prior, don't matter if it's 8 weeks before, 16 weeks before, this fight is getting cancelled until we get an outcome. And that has to be in the contract, because then that way, nobody can be ostracized. Nobody can be like, well, Eddie should have done this, Callum should have done that, Conor this, Conor that. We just have nobody fighting. Could that not be something that gets put into play?
Yeah, I mean, that's one way. Or why don't the governing bodies just do their job and act when they're supposed to? Then you don't even need to do that, would you? What is the point of appointing people like VADA and that, who obviously can't make decisions to ban people? Their job is to go and drug test you, and catch you for doing so. So, but what is the point in doing that if when you fail it means nothing? That was pointless to begin with, them, wasn't it? It's just down to governing bodies doing their job and banning people when they fail drug tests. The unfortunate thing is, Conor Benn wasn't getting banned until fight week because people only found out about it then. So basically, what that means is, if people didn't find out about it, that'd have been swept under the carpet. And then it makes you think how many other fighters have got away with it in the past that haven't been leaked to the press.
Yeah.
So that's quite worrying. But you don't have to put it. You shouldn't have to put it in contracts. Imagine it being in that bad of a place that you need to write that into a contract. Why can't the people who are there to safeguard the sport just safeguard the sport like they're supposed to? Then that fight would have been called off. It doesn't mean it would have been called off ever. If Conor Benn's innocent, then that fight would have got it on down the line. But you need to protect people's health, and that is what people are there to do, in the board and whatnot. Don't just pretend it never happened and let the fight go on. Ban people and then investigate while you ban them. And then if they're innocent, you can let them go again. And if they're not, then you give them a ban, and then hopefully they learn from it and don't do it again.